Good morning, everybody. Thank you so very much for being with me. This is the Sound of the City with Peter from beautiful San Diego, California, America's finest city. And I appreciate you being with me through these videos that I've assembled. I want to make a quick clarification or perhaps reiterate something with you. And that has to go back to why I am doing this. I am in commentary with you to describe to you the horrors of suicide attempts. And it is my hope that I am helping you. I am making myself available to you through telling my story and giving you a couple quick resources that you could use to get yourself in the right direction. We are here together, and you are helping me. Going forward, how do you proceed after you've jumped off a building? How do you do it? Well, it wasn't easy. I'll tell you that. And I don't want to go into tremendous detail, but I'm going to touch on the more significant factors that you need to be aware of. The things that happen after you survive a suicide attempt, the things I ran into, and how I am now. After I attempted my last suicide, I jumped off the building, my apartment building, from the 19th story. And that landed me in the hospital. And I'm not trying to get holy on you, but by the grace of God, I'm still here. I was in the hospital for a total of a month and a half while I was recovering from my acute injuries. Well, those acute injuries have turned into chronic conditions, and that's just part of my life now. After the hospital, I was in a rehab facility for about 2.5, 3 months, where I learned how to walk a little. Today, my reality is this. I am in a wheelchair. I can walk a little bit with a walker. I'm not completely wheelchair bound, but I'm wheelchair dependent. You know, there's a time when I was athletic. I played softball, soccer, racquetball, tennis, baseball. I played football in high school. I love sports. I can't do any of it now. That's a consequence of me trying to commit suicide. I didn't think about that beforehand. But you slowly adapt. Those first few years after I attempted my last suicide were horrible. All I wanted to do was die. I was thinking of other ways I could die, and if I had access to a gun, I would have shot myself. I'm just being honest with you. That's how miserable I was. That's how much despair I lived with. The questions continue to flow through my mind endlessly. Why? Who? What? Where? When? Why me? How come? Once again, I had survivor's guilt. When is this all gonna end? Why in the hell am I here? And I would get answers from people. Well, you're here for a reason. You know, that used to piss me off. But people were just trying to be helpful. They didn't know really what to say. I think about it from my end, and I put myself in their position. Empathy is important. And I think, okay, they're around some guy that jumped off a building. They're very uncomfortable now. What the hell do you expect them to say? So I got used to it. But you know what happened along the line? I continued with my treatments. I continued with my rehab. But most importantly, I continued seeing a psychiatrist. I hooked up with a psychiatrist for the first time in my life, and a social worker and a therapist. The thing that works best is a psychiatrist, and I've had 3 now. The first one didn't work out too well. The next 2, they were gems, and right now I have a psychiatrist. I won't mention his name, but he is the gentleman of the gentlemen. I have my faith completely in him. If you do not have the best psychiatrist, then you have the wrong psychiatrist. But what happened to me? Over time, asking all these questions, that gets old really quickly. And about 2-3 years into my recovery, there was a time it came, and instead of asking the questions as to why I'm here and why I'm here and the like, one morning I just said, thank you. Thank you for still having me here. And that's when I first started really wanting to live again. And I engaged with my interests. I have so many interests: poetry, art, mineralogy, coins, currency, politics. I could just list off a whole, with the lack of a better way to put it, an encyclopedia of interests that I have. And I was doing some poetry one day, and I was affected by it. And I was writing, and I was reading it back to myself, and I was writing. I was trying to get it just right, and I was working through a problem. And I realized, you know, Peter, you're still alive. You are still here. I'm gonna face chronic conditions for the rest of my life as a result of my suicide attempt. I have chronic pain, and please don't get me wrong. It is not gentlemanly for a man to ruminate over his health conditions with others, but I'm bringing this up with you given the context. I suffer from chronic pain. Pain, many times, that is out of control, related to my hip, pelvis, back, and sciatic pain. I have chronic nausea. I have chronic anxiety. I have something like PTSD, and I'm very careful about saying PTSD. I believe PTSD is more of a military disease. I do not want to steal valor. So I just have a hard time with my thoughts, I put it. My psychiatrist disagrees with me, so he's right. But I still do not consider it PTSD, because I don't want to take away from veterans. I suffer from a whole bunch of other things: lack of mobility, getting ready, shaving, brushing my teeth. You know, it's not easy, but that's my life now. And that is life, and it's living life, and I'm still here. And I'll say that over and over and over again. You do not have to commit suicide. You do not have to try it. Because once again, you are playing with fire. You are playing with something really bad. Really bad. And like I said before one time, and once again, pardon me, I don't like repeating myself, but this is worth it. You mess around with suicide, you're playing with fire, it might just work. You might just kill yourself. Then what? Look at me. Don't be like me. Don't try to kill yourself, because you're going to lose some things along the way. There are consequences, definite ones. But I think this is the second to last episode. In the next episode, I want to talk to you about resources and what you could do to prevent from attempting suicide, what you could do to keep yourself alive, how to reach out. And a lot of that has to do with how I do it, being honest with people. I welcome you. And as we've gone through these episodes together, it's been uplifting, freeing, and cathartic for me. And I hope you've gotten something out of them. Thank you very much. And once again, if you're struggling, it's 1-800-273-8255. That's the suicide prevention hotline. If you're really bad, call 911. Somehow get in touch with a psychiatrist. It's vital that you do that quickly because time is of the essence if you're struggling, if you're alone, and you have a plan. Remember, if you have that gun in your hand, if you have those pills in your hand, if you're thinking of jumping, call 911. Call the police. Get help. Thank you.